We are very fortunate today to have Todd Holmdahl and me spend some time to talk about what the organization's working on, some reflections on partnership with MSR, and some thoughts on the hard problems that they're facing that we can possibly help with. So please join me with Todd.
Thank you, Kevin. First of all, I just want to thank all you guys for all the great help that we had on Connect. We started that in 2008, and it really was an amazing testament to collaboration. I always felt that you guys were part of the team, and you guys are committed to what we were doing, and it's just turned out to be a great story. We have a couple other things that we're working with you that you probably, those working with us know about. I think that those could be equally as great, and I'm looking forward to continued participation on those. My job in IEB today is I run the hardware group, so I'm responsible for building the consoles that you see, Connect, and the accessories. Today, I'm going to talk about our roadmap for the next 3 years. We are at an interesting spot. We've done really good this last year, but there are a lot of different trends that are going on that we need to be aware of as we go forward. Please feel free to interrupt during the conversation. Make this as interactive as possible.
Is it a new logo?
This is the new logo, yeah. Very exciting, yes. I'm sure. Let's give a round of applause for the new logo. I'm sure we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to some design firm trying to figure that one out. But I don't know if you're familiar with IEB. We've gone through a bunch of changes over the last year. About a year ago, we were at I think we were 2,500 people, and now we're up to 5,000 people. When Robbie broke apart E&D, two groups merged in with ours, the media room group and also the group that did the Zune services. So if you look at our portfolio, we have the Xbox console, we have Connect, we have games for Connect, we have games for Windows, we have games that run on your phone, we have Media Room, which is a great IPTV client, the Zune services, games on phone. The key here is right now it's all quite disparate, and what we're trying to do as we go forward is really bring all these things together with other assets that Microsoft has and put them together into a great consumer product. I did want to, does anybody remember first Xbox, when it was launched? 2001? Yeah. What about Xbox Live? 2002, I think. 2000, yeah. Xbox 360? 2005. So as we've been going through this integration, we put together a video of the history of Xbox. I thought it'd be worthwhile to show that to see. I actually started in 1999, so I've been with the program. I think probably one of the last of the original. But we've had some bumps along the way. But in the last couple of years, it's been less bumpy, and the slope of the line has been positive, going up at a faster rate. But I thought I'd show this. It's a little bit corny, but it's kind of cool to see it all. I did not pick the music. All right, it's kind of cute. I had to show it.
Update the Connect.
I know, it's 10 million. Yeah, I can't keep up with
The
those.
bumps. We have as the bumps.
The bumps, well, I remember those very well because that was 2006 through 2008. Yes, I spent every day working on that bump. So the 2010's been a great year. It's been much better than the bump years. You can look up here, but we're up to 50 million consoles. I think 53 now since the slide was built. If you remember the Xbox One days, we had built 21, 22 million consoles. We're up to 30 million Xbox Live subscribers that are playing 40 hours a month. So you guys do the math. I think it works out to 1 billion hours. So we're impacting productivity in the world. And I don't know if it's favorable or not, but the Connect numbers, we had targeted building 5 million Connects. Fortunately, we were able to start early in July in the manufacturing. We're able to build 8 million, sell those 8 million during the holiday, and now we're up to 10 million. The key for us will be to continue to have great experiences to support Connect, but if working with you guys, clearly we designed something that's resonating with people. By all stretches, if you look at our profit, we're targeting over $1 billion for this year, by far our best year. We grew year over year. Consoles, we're going to be somewhere above our budget of 12 million. We'll be above that. But just good stuff for now. We're always looking on the horizon, but we and you guys should all take some time to celebrate that. So, we're all, Andy Grove, the paranoid survive. This is a very interesting time, and I think you guys are seeing it too. There's a lot of what I think they're generational inflection points that we have to be mindful of. And so, in thinking of that, we like to bring out this video. You guys have probably seen this one, but it is pretty funny.
A new tourist destination in Auburn Hills, Michigan is showing visitors the difficulties life held for Americans in the past. Blockbuster Video aims to transport visitors to a time before the internet. It's an historically authentic recreation of a video store.
The tour is amazing. It's like stepping into a time machine. It's hard to believe that people live this way.
What's so poignant about this time is the uncertainty. When you get to the Blockbuster, are they going to have your video? Did someone else rent it? Is there going to be a line? Are the alarms going to sound when you walk out the front door? It was very difficult for the people that lived during this era.
Blockbuster joins a growing number of historical tourism sites, including Buffalo, New York's recreation of Virgin Records Music Store and Iowa City's Borders Bookstore Museum.
So it is awful, but it's so true in our business. I'm so sad to see Borders going into bankruptcy because I love that place. But if you look at our business, technology just drives tons and tons of change. And back in 2002, you had Blockbuster sitting there at $1.6 billion and Netflix $288 million. And over the last 8 years, the market cap on Netflix has gone up to $9.2 billion and Blockbuster is bankrupt. And Netflix will continue. They've tapped into streaming. And for us, we always have to sit back and say, what are the things that are going on in technology 3 years from now that are going to be meaningful? And what are those things that are going to really impact the consumer? What are those things that are going to drive profit for the business group? So we've come up with really 5 things. I don't know if they're generational, but I think they're very material changes or inflection points that are occurring out in the world today. The first is the move to natural user interfaces, and you guys have been pushing this. We believe in it. We believe that we've created something together that resonates with people. It's not only going to be in the living room that you're going to see this. We're going to increase the performance in the living room, but it's going to move to the PC. It's going to move to the phone. And it's ours to lose. There are other people who are going to come into this space and be building product, and we need to make sure that we continue to build on that foundation. So the second one is the cloud. You guys have seen our commercials, I think, to the cloud. Great commercials. But there is a lot going on in our space and all these spaces. I don't know if you've heard of OnLive, but that's a company that's basically develop server-based games, and they're doing all their computation in the cloud. There's a company called Gaikai that does something similar. You've seen what we're doing with Azure. We believe there are bandwidth and latency issues today, but in the next 5 years, a lot of those things will go away, and a lot more of the computation for our space will be done in the cloud. The third is the competition is really changing. In the last, since I started this thing in 1999, there were 2 companies that we were focused on, Sony and Nintendo. We were continuing to go after both of those companies. We tried to out polygon them, develop the higher definition box, 8X console from the last generation. And then you start to look at some of the trends that are going on today. Today we are more concerned with Apple and Google. They see some of these trends that are going on. They're going after the living room. You've all seen Google TV. You've all seen Apple TV. There's $100 billion plus of profit in this space. And they're looking to take the playbook that they've done in the past and bring it into the living room. So again, something that we need to be aware of. The fourth thing is the internet-connected TVs. TVs, people have talked about this for years, the internet coming into the living room. It is happening today. More and more TVs have the internet capability. In addition to Apple TV and us and Google TV, there's Roku, Boxy, Vudu. There's a number of different internet-based boxes that you're finding in the living room. That will change the way you get entertainment, or the way that you experience entertainment in the living room. It will become more interactive. It'll become more social with the social graph that the internet provides, and it will become more personal. And we have to make sure that we are aware of that, we drive that, and we lead that effort. And then the last thing is there's a big push about moving from a product to a service. You'll probably see the last of the giant, we have this debate every day. Is this the last of the giant consoles, or are we going to put a certain amount of client hardware in a smaller box and then tie it into a server and basically continue to upgrade the performance on the server? And we need to get better, much better at being a service company or a service organization as opposed to a product organization. That doesn't mean products are going to go away, but if you look at our infrastructure right now that we have behind Live, it is not really set up to be a service organization. And the world, the Facebooks of the world, the Zyngas of the world, the Googles of the world, they are all very good at being a service organization. So what's that mean for us? So what are we doing just at a high level? At a really high level, we've gone from multiple planning processes to one planning process. We've taken all those assets that you've seen and we're bringing them together in one process. The second thing that we've done, and this is a really important one, is in the past we've focused on having one console per household. Now our focus going forward is to be attached or associated with every TV in a household. And when you think about that, that's a big change. There are 3.4 TVs in every house in the U.S. A lot of TV watching, 5 hours a day. Average person watches TV. It's amazing. It is just, yeah. I think we are by far ahead of everybody else. But it's there, and people, and there's over $100 billion of money spent on subscriptions or advertising, so it's huge business. But we want to be attached to every one of those, and that's going to change the type of product that we develop. Third thing, pretty straightforward, we want to be more than just games and music or video. We want to offer, all different forms of entertainment, and these forms of entertainment are going to start to blur together. It's going to be harder and harder to tell the difference between a video and a game in the future, and we want to be sure that we offer all of them. The fourth one on here, in the past, we've done great with AAA gaming. We've had some social involved with that. We've had interactivity. But as we go forward, there's this notion that all entertainment is going to be transformed by the internet coming to the living room. Again, more interactivity, more social, and more personal. And then the last thing that we're doing and we're basing our roadmap on is we are going to move from controller-driven experiences to NUI-driven experiences. Again, this is a foundation that we have developed. It's ours to lose, and we want to continue to build off that in the future. There's before we get into the roadmap, there are three things that we're focused on, all based and built off of NUI and the cloud. The three things are simplicity, elegance. If you guys have looked at our UI today, it takes forever just to try to get on to Xbox Live. We need to fix that. We need to take some of the stuff that we've done with NUI and gesture and just make it better. It's not there yet. We need to transform experiences, interactivity, social, and then we need to have all forms of entertainment be available on the console. Gaming, videos, music, app platform. And that's what you're going to see in our roadmap as we go forward. So 2010, we think that we started this process this last year. Some of you guys may have a "You Are the Controller" shirt, but that was really our message. And the beauty of that was back in 2008 when we started Connect, or Natal, we were saying "You are the controller. The only experience you need is life experience." And that carried throughout the whole program and ended up into the marketing materials. So we had a good launch. You guys saw we were able to broaden what we were doing. We got ESPN3 out there, so you're starting to see us move more and more towards TV and that type of content. But in 2011, this next coming year, and we just sat down on Friday and talked an awful lot about what our 2011 product is going to look like. At a high level, we want to make things easier to get to, more elegant, and we wanted to bring more content to the Xbox 360. We are going to bring Bing search and voice search to your Xbox, so no longer are you going to have to say Xbox stop, Xbox play. You can say, hey, Xbox, find me all the football games. And you're going to get all the football games that we have in our catalog. This will all be local to the Xbox ecosystem. So that's a big piece of work that we're doing for this coming year. We're teaming with the Bing team, and we're continuing to develop our voice recognition skills. It wouldn't be Xbox without a bunch of core games. I think Gears of War is coming out this year. Forza will come out. We'll have a new version of Fable. It'll be key to get those out to make sure that we tie into our core audience. The third thing is we are starting to develop an app platform. I think this is one of the biggest misses that we've had over the last 4 or 5 years by not building out a real app platform. We're going to team with the Silverlight group, and we're going to come out with something like 100 apps that are based on Silverlight over this next year. Today, if you want to design a Netflix app or an Amazon app for the Xbox, that has to all be done by blue badges, and that's just not scalable. Silverlight's not the best, probably not, it's a great product, but it's probably not the most extendable. You're going to see in 2012 that we are going to develop an HTML5 based platform, but we can't get that out until 2012, so we have this interim step of 2011.
So this is for Xbox, because we already do this for the mobile phone.
Yep, this is all for Xbox in the living room. We want to build, over the next couple of years, we want to build our install base in the living room, get from 53 million units to 75 million units and above in the next year or two.
So what's the sale model? This is no longer the DVD title, right? So from
yeah, this will all be download. Yep, all download.
price point also different, right?
All the price. Imagine, bringing your Apple Store into your living room. We are really going to focus on TV. this coming year. A lot of discussions with people like Comcast. Again, this is all confidential stuff, but Time Warner, Comcast. We have an experience, if you live in the UK, you've probably seen B-Sky B. We want to bring similar linear television to the Xbox in other countries. And we believe that we can make it more than just watching TV. You have an opportunity with Connect to have an augmented experience above and beyond what you get with normal TV. The fifth thing here, we are innovating in Connect in roughly 3 areas, at least 3 areas. One is we're looking at digitizing objects and bringing them into our play space. I don't know if you remember when we first started Connect, I think there were 4 things that we wanted to do, and my kids remind me of this all the time. We wanted to do skeletal tracking, which we did. We wanted to do voice recognition, which we did. And we wanted to do party chat, being able to go room to room and talk to people without a headset, which we did. But the one they always keep dinging me on is the digitization of objects and bringing those into, and if you look at our old videos, that was one of the things that we promised. And we have a bunch of people, and I think MSR is actually helping here too, but that's another thing that we want to do. We want to do fingers, to be able to manipulate fingers in some range, and there's a bunch of games that people are looking at there. And then we're going to continue to work on seated. Seated is a really hard problem for us because you're sitting in this couch, and the couch surrounds you, and it's hard to separate you from the couch. And we continue to work on that particular problem.
Are the core games going to be Connect enabled?
That is another good battle, good discussion that we have. They're looking at making certain pieces of them Connect enabled. It's unlikely that a whole game would require you to have Connect, but that is something that we're working on, Peter. The last thing here is supportability and scale. Again, and I'm not a software guy, but the software teams would tell me that there's at least 2 or 3 years of work that we need to use on the infrastructure for live and for our cloud support in order to make it more like the service company that we want to be in the future. So that work has to occur too. So any questions on this one? This is where I think it starts getting a little bit more interesting.
Anything about Kinesta or technologies that related to the original version?
Yeah. So the question was about Kinesta. We acquired 2 companies over the last year. One was 3DV and another was Kinesta. Right now, the sensor that we use is primarily developed, at least the imaging technology is developed by a company called PrimeSense. We have an exclusive relationship with them in the video game space. We've acquired 3DV and Kinesta. They both do time-of-flight type technology as opposed to structured light, which PrimeSense uses. We are looking at doing a new sensor in 2012, and I'll talk about that. But it's based on time-of-flight, and it's going to have like 50% better field of view, much better for identity. Should have an HD video connect with it, which is separate from the 3D aspect of it. But that's going to be based again on the 3DV technology. And then we're also looking at doing something in the PC space, something where 2-foot experiences with a PC. And it appears that the Kinesta technology, the sensor that they use, they're primarily a silicon sensor company. That's where their expertise is. We would consider using that for that application. Any other questions? Yeah.
You said you've already done a deal with B-Sky B for UK TV, or you're going to be doing it?
We already have one. You can get, I believe you can get linear TV in UK through B-Sky B on your Xbox. Yep. Any other questions on this one? Okay. So this is 2011. This will likely take like 70 or 80% of our software team to go off and execute on it. There's a lot of work here in order to make these things happen in 2011. So 2012, we really want to continue to build off of the notion of more content, continue to build off of our experiences. We are going to build a browser to run on the Xbox 360 HTML5 base. This is really hard to do because you've got the 360, which is a 2003 PowerPC architecture, 512 megabytes of memory. You're going to try to take an IE browser, IE9 or above, and put it onto the 360. So that's hard, but it's really necessary for us in order to create the experiences we want to create and the marketplace that we want to create. We will build an app store, basically HTML5-based app store. It will work in conjunction with our Silverlight applications. Again here, as I said earlier, you have to be a blue badge now in order to develop an app. We want to open up our platform, this 70 or 80 million consoles that are in people's living rooms. We want to open it up to the thousands and thousands of creators that are out there that today program for the internet. So that will be big for us. We're also looking at really tying in to what Windows 8 and the Windows Phone 8 are doing and developing deep companion experiences. A lot of you guys may do this today yourself, have your phone with you or have your PC with you while you're watching TV. There are a lot of different augmented experiences that you can create from that model, and we want to make sure that those are all synced up. The last thing on here, and this is the one I talked about earlier, is we will build a new camera, time of flight based. It's going to have, think of it at, again, 50% better field of view. And so if you are, if the cord about 6 feet away is 6 feet wide, this will give you 9 feet of room to move back and forth in, so you can really have two-player experiences. And if it measures you well at 6 feet, this will measure you the same way at 4 feet. So with people, a lot of times people have problems getting closer to the TV set where it cuts them off. This will allow them to get much closer. So this is a big effort for us and one that we're continuing to work on. Yep.
Will you be filtering the apps that come in?
Filtering in what sense?
Making sure they're okay before you release them?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
What kind of a infrastructure you have to build up to do that?
I don't know yet. We did it with XNA, and it was a self-policing kind of policy where some people got more recognition in the group, and if they were reviewers of the apps, to make sure that they were appropriate. But at the end of the day, we can't have things that are inappropriate on there. It's Microsoft's brand, it's all of our brand, and it just wouldn't be right. So we haven't figured all that out. We have something from XNA that kind of worked. I don't know if that will scale though, because XNA did not have that many apps to when you start getting thousands and thousands of apps. So we have to figure that one out. It's a good question.
So will your next-gen Kinect be something small enough to embed into other pieces of hardware, rather than standalone?
I don't think this one will. This is going to run at above 10 watts. And the one that we would likely embed would be the Kinesta version of it. It doesn't, it's all, most of it's based on range. Like if I want to measure something out there that's 12 feet, I got to send the light out there and bounce it back. But if I'm measuring something 2 feet away, typically I can send less light. And if those are the experiences that we're looking at, then you're down in the 3 or 4 watt range. I don't think that quite gets you into a phone. A phone is around, you need to be at 1.5 watts all up or 2 watts all up. So, but for a PC, it certainly would work for that. Any other questions? So 2013, these are our plans today, and again, these are all in a little bit of flux as we're going forward, and please understand that they could change, and it's very confidential. But what we're focusing on for hardware today is to build for scale as opposed to build for 8x or 10x performance. And by scale, I mean we want to be in every TV set. And if you want to be in every TV set, you have to have a 10-watt product. And we want to always be connected. We want to tell a developer that you're always going to be connected to the cloud. You have that compute available to you, so use it. You have the social graph available to you. You have a search engine available to you. How is that going to change your games? Well, we believe Connect is our big differentiator, or at least one of our big differentiators, and we want the platform or the developer to know that Connect is there and they can use it for their application. And this, again, we're looking at focusing at low power and small and affordable. Again, go into a TV set or something that sits beside it that has a very low profile. So what's that mean? It means this is a really, really hard problem for us. And that's the problem of, okay, and we think that we can get to about 1x the power of today's Xbox and put it in 10 watts. Today, you go out and buy an Xbox chip, it doesn't cost you, it is 40 watts. So it's a lot of power. With new technologies and new architectures and ARM architecture, we think that we can get that down to 10 watts. And so 10 watts, same power as a 360. But if you want to deliver those games that have 8x the fidelity, we need to do something with cloud assist. So we're working on how can you change the level of detail of a game depending upon whether or not the cloud is there. And this gets hard because of because of the latency issues of the cloud, the bandwidth issues of the cloud, and will that work in a gaming environment when you have 1x the performance of a 360 today at your disposal for the client. So we have this notion, we want to be able to go from 1x to 8x with the cloud, and we want to do all of our backward compatibility for the 360 in the cloud, which is another really hard problem because of the latency issues, particularly if it's a first-person shooter or if you have NUI. NUI takes a while to process things, and if you have to do a bunch of that in the cloud, that's a big challenge. So again, this is ideally what we'd love to do. This is a really hard problem, and but I do liken it to the Connect. We had 7 or 8 kind of miracle things, and the way that we got it done was by saying, okay, let's all get together. We're all in on this thing and going out after it and believing in it, and that's kind of where we are today. Then the last thing here is, we need to continue to develop the art form of the experiences. The classic thing is, how is Idol, Survivor, Oprah, ESPN all different when you have interactivity, a social graph, and the power of a Bing search engine behind you. And I think that there are a lot of opportunities there also. Yeah.
So what's your user model expectation in this sense? Does the whole family subscribe to Xbox Live and you have partitioning between Google folks and Apple folks and us folks? Or do you expect a mixture of, I have an Apple device and a Xbox device and it'll all interoperate? How will this, entertain transform model work across the family?
So are you asking, if I have an iPad, can I use an Xbox to be a companion device? Are you talking?
I'm saying is one is that. The second is, if all my music is iTunes music, then do I get a Zoom pass? Partly I'm saying is where they have a lead and they have gotten ahead of us and getting it in a rapid rate. What's the strategy in terms of as an end run saying people will be, or is it an interoperable strategy? The world will have to head that.
Today we talk about it being interoperable strategy. I don't know how to answer your Zoom, your iPad, your things that are licensed that we don't have access to. I'm not sure how we deal with that, but certainly if we can build an HTML5 based abstraction, seems like we should be able to run apps on an iPad that would allow us to do interesting things in our ecosystem. And that's kind of what we're thinking about right now, but none of us would say that is really a strategy. I mean, A, it's not that differentiable. B, they could pull a lot of that out from underneath you. So we're trying to move through that right now. Now, there is this notion that it's best on if we could do a best on a Windows PC and a best companion experience on a Windows phone and having a good experience on these other devices, that might be the way to approach it. But I'm not sure that we have all the details worked out. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an obvious answer.
Yeah.
I would say.
It's a little bit open-ended right now. Yeah?
What sort of joint experiences with the phone, deep integration between the phone and Kinect? What are you thinking about in that space, say, gaming, for instance?
So the question was, what are the interactions between the phone and Kinect? Well, here, I'll step back, and this is a really tough problem for us right now. One is we want to base, or the problem is this, we want to base a lot of what we do on Kinect, and it would be great if you didn't have to have a remote control at all, a phone or any kind of remote control. You could just walk into your living room and you can say, hey, or wave or do something, change channels or talk, and that allowed you to navigate all the things that we wanted to navigate. I'm not sure we believe in Kinect enough yet to go all in on that, and that's an opportunity I think that we could work together on. What we are doing is we're saying, hey, most people will have a phone. That can be your auxiliary input device in the living room. And if you don't have a phone, we're also developing because we're really worried about typing, assuming people will type in the living room. And if you don't have a phone, we're also developing a piece of, it's kind of like a touchpad, like two sides of a touchpad that allows you to touch type and navigate and control a cursor for $13 or so. That's another thing we're doing. So that we believe that we'd like to have it that it was just Kinect and that's the way you can navigate. Not sure if that's going to be the case, so we're looking at the phone being your auxiliary device to navigate, or this other thing we call Pebble. I think the interactions, though, if you start thinking about, if the question is about like interactions between phones and your TV set, if you're connected to the cloud, you should be able to watch TV and vote on things or get information about a cooking show on your companion device. We've got, with respect to games, you've probably seen today there's somebody's done a demo where you're playing the rally ball game in Kinect Adventures, and you can use your phone to say, hey, I want the ball to go there, and use that. So people are thinking about it. I think it's very fertile ground for a lot of ideas. Yeah.
Question. Earlier on you mentioned the Xbox Connect to every TV, and this new hardware software platform in 2013 is trying to address that.
Yeah. So this would be again, this would be a 10-watt silicon on chip part that has the performance of a 360 today. It's an ARM-based architecture. It's not a PowerPC architecture, which is about 40 watts today. So now at 10 watts, you can put that into TV sets, and it won't impact the thermal or the power envelope that TV sets have, so you can embed it easily. We believe that that's going to give you, coupled with Cloud Assist, that will give you enough compute power to do a lot of interesting things for the right price.
So, to follow up on that question, so when we sell a console that's embedded into a TV and the console that's separate and they have exactly the same power?
Yes.
So for that to happen, then the people who already have a game library, they have to sort of find a station where they sort of demonstrate they have the game already, and then they will be supported and downloadable from the cloud. Is that the idea?
Yes, that's a tough problem. Because we are moving. You guys see this. We're starting to move away from the digital disc, and so how do you deal with the people that you want to keep on your in your ecosystem that were game players in the past? Now, a couple things there. Backwards compatibility doesn't matter nearly as much as you think it does in terms of actual people playing games, but it is a very big perception issue. People perceive it as being very important when they go out there and buy things. Hey, I have all these games. Even though I'm never going to play them, I want the opportunity to play them on this other device, even though I have the device it already works on. So we haven't solved this completely yet. We've got ideas about if you've played on live in the past and you had a legitimate copy of the game, you could download the game. You could use Kinect to show the disc and it could pick it up. But the bigger problem is we haven't quite figured out how to do backward compatibility in this world. And we're trying to do it in the cloud, but we've got all sorts of like latency issues. If you remember, the Xbox 360 wasn't completely backward compatible with the Xbox One. It was all done software emulation. You guys probably helped on this. It was all done software emulation, and the reason why it worked is because we were 6 to 8x more powerful, and you could emulate the Intel architecture with the PowerPC architecture. Yeah.
Talking about new, we all love Connect camera, but I think to really have a new experience, the feedback, the haptics, I mean, also a lot of games. How do you think important? How important do you think it is? I mean, because a lot of things not that ping pong or tennis without holding us, without the feedback, really not.
Yeah. So when we started this thing, the ultimate goal and you guys are all Star Trek fans, was to create the holodeck. And the input was the first part of it. We're working on the output right now. And again, I think that could be just a huge opportunity. The third part, of course, is like the haptic or tactile. Haven't figured out the 5-year solution, but there are people today that are looking at very modular systems where you could have something in your hand with ping pong where you could actually feel the vibration. You could do that on today's game console too. But we are looking at things like that. Like we created a steering wheel for driving that works with Kinect that has these 2 little modules in there that creates the haptic force. So we're doing some of that. But the one where you're like controlling the airwaves around your hand and there's nothing in your hands, we haven't figured out that one yet.
Well, there are these haptic gloves, aren't there, that I guess it's compressed air or something that expands the fingertips so you feel some...
I've seen some of those. I've seen things that you can put on your wrists that can control things and make it feel like it. But I do think...
Actually do anything with your fingers.
Yeah.
You just have to tell the brain that something happened.
See? You guys...
It's completely true. I mean, if you could figure out a way of connecting back here, right, you could have the same experience and have nothing in your hands.
Will you be the alpha tester?
Liability issues would be out.
No, not necessarily, but I've had the unfortunate reverse experience of having sensations in my hand caused by injury back here.
Yeah.
Right? And so I know it works. Now it's just a question of refining the technology, and if you can avoid falling off a horse.
This was completely worth it because for me to come here just to get this information, because I really do think that there's this opportunity to create the next level of the holodeck. And that, I don't know if that's it, but if there's some, if it's air or if it's things on your arms or back here, I think that's a very cool problem to solve.
I had a question about cloud assist. So is cloud assist the idea that you're doing the work in the cloud and then projecting video? Or what do you mean by cloud assist exactly?
It could be both. The way that OnLive works, if you've seen OnLive today, they basically do all the rendering in the cloud, and then they compress it, and then they send it back up. And so all the little piece of hardware that you have does is decompresses it. But that's fraught with a bunch of latency issues, because if you've played that, it's a terrible game. I mean, like the real first-person shooters, they just don't like it. So if you could somehow, and I'm not going to get this completely right, but if you could somehow break it up so that I want my background to look like an 8x background, and that background's not going to change that much, but the person that I'm shooting at and myself are going to be at 1x the resolution, and all of that stuff, all that latency associated with that is going to be done locally. And I don't have to go, or like with the NUI stuff would all be done locally instead of going to the cloud and getting computed. That's the type of stuff that they're thinking about for the assist.
Things like emulation, you're really talking about more of an on-live thing.
Yes.
Because you're not playing the...
Yes. That's why it's broken. That's why we haven't figured it out yet for emulation. Like for new games, I think we could create a model where we could do the cloud assist, but for backwards compatibility, it is what you say, and then it is a decompress, uncompress, render, compress, send back.
I assume they're doing quite a bit of smart prefetching and cloud assist. It sounds like that would be very
Yes, I have. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I have not seen a ton of what they're doing. I'm getting a readout next week, but this could be a place where you guys could really help us, because
the biggest problem historically isn't if you've got enough bandwidth, then those issues really aren't that much, because it's effectively like sending video. So it's just decompression, compression, stuff like that. The hard part is you did something, and there's a fundamental latency between you, the server, and coming back.
But if you had prefetched a bunch of actions that render relevant things to distributions of actions, we'd have them all locally.
Right. Again, the biggest problem is that latency. So you have to do something. You have to do something to mask the latency. And there are various techniques to do it. But a lot of the best ones are you've got intermediate servers somewhere along the line that do some simplistic version of the task.
Is there somebody that can we maybe somebody here that we could send the team to? I don't know if anybody's interested in looking at it. Or if you're interested in this space, I would love to get help on it, because it is a really tough problem for us.
Yeah, I think there's some good codec work that was done in MSR Asia.
Okay.
Around the titanium stuff. That's actually fairly interesting.
We'll be talking to Andrew.
And there's
You're talking to Andrew Goosen? Okay, so you're locked and loaded and all this stuff.
Todd, on a completely different subject, do you expect the competition, Sony or Nintendo, to have Kinect-like the controllers?
I don't. I have seen nothing from them yet about doing a new console or new controllers. My guess is Nintendo's going to stay with what they have for a while. They've got such a big install base. For PlayStation, if anybody could do it, it's them. They have a lot of camera technology already. I don't know how wedded they are to the Move, though. The Move is, when we sold 10 million units, they sold about 1.5 or 2. And at some point, they're going to have to say, hey, this isn't successful in order to do that. I doubt they would have the Move out there and a camera out there. There's a lot of different things to take into account. But I haven't, we usually know like what IBM's doing and these other companies with respect to building new silicon, and everybody's kind of either really good at hiding it, but I can't imagine that. I mean, the case in point I use is like we're out doing RFPs for all of our products, and they're willing and able to assign their best design teams to us. So.
From the acquisition that you did of 3DB, Kinect,
Yep.
and the relationship with PrimeSense, does it make it much more difficult for other people to come into the space? What do you think is the advantage because of that?
Well, my lawyers now. We compete at a very open playing field. I believe we have some really good IP associated with us now, and with Kinect and the stuff that we've done internally with you and others. That said, I believe there's also opportunities for other players to come in. However, I really like the experiences that we built, and I would say that the skeletal tracking the skeletal tracking part seems to be way ahead of what everybody else has done, and that's kind of our big differentiator. That said, people will catch up. I don't know how much IP we have that can, protect us.
How much do you care about that 1.5 watt version? I mean, if you had it, would it sort of make a big difference, or are you not so worried about it?
Say it again?
The 1.5 watt version of the 3D camera.
I would absolutely use it in the stuff that Alex is working on now.
Because I guess you pay quite a lot in energy terms for being wedded to delivering a depth map.
Yep.
So it depends what question you're asking. For example, if you're asking the question, where is somebody's face? If that's what you want to know the answer to, then you can save probably a factor of 5 in the energy.
So that's a good question. What I want to be able to do is be able to reach out and grab a virtual object and know that I'm grabbing a virtual object and being able to interact with that. That's the thing I want to be able to do. I think that will be a killer app for us. And I think you have to have a short throw 3D camera in order to do that, unless you're doing something stereoscopically with 2D. But everybody has told me it just takes tons of computational power to do that.
Right.
But you're right. To do the stuff like, for me to recognize you, Andrew, I can have a regular RGB camera and work fine.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to do stuff 3D, if you want to do 3D stuff, but you don't actually want to deliver the pixel map, the voxel map, you just want to give the answer to a question, like, is there an object in the field of view, then the canister camera can be simplified a lot.
I think that's a great thing to work on then, because I hadn't heard that, but I do think there's an opportunity for whomever to get in and start, particularly with the work that Alex is doing, because he would be driving most of that. The other two efforts, so we have 4 efforts going on. We have a cost reduction of what we have today to try to drive $10 out of it. We have a PC version, which is think about 2 feet short throw, because I don't want to ever lose this race, so we're putting a lot of people on. So we have the 2-foot version. We're building a new camera for the living room that has 50% more field of view. And then the fourth thing is to figure out with the holodeck work that we're doing, what is the right camera for that. And it would be a much more of a short throw, low power camera.
How much money do we make per, connect that we sell? Just the device itself? Did we lose something or small profit?
No, we're out of that business, first thing. It costs us all in about $90. So we sell for $149. The retailer probably takes $30, so we make $30 on it. Plus, good business.
You said Sony and Nintendo were moving competition movement to Apple and Google.
Yeah.
But Apple and Google don't have a gameplay at the moment. Do you think they'll get something like Kinect or a gameplay?
Well, I think they do have a gameplay. I mean, their app stores, they play tons of games. They have those types of games. And the classic innovator's dilemma thing is, well, people, and Netflix is a classic example. Well, people will they do with less for a lot less money, right? So if they could play all these Android games for $2 per month on their TV set, would they, and even though they're not as good, would they forego buying a $60 disc in order to do that? That's what I think we have to worry about. So to your question about whether they are going to do it, Google's hired 2 people from our group so far. So they know about it. Apple's hired a couple. I know that they've gone after some of our people via LinkedIn. Apple does a lot of stuff with cameras, 2D. I don't know if they're headed, so they could go after them for that. I would not be surprised if they do something similar. They'll be behind, but I think they have to at some point to keep up with us. Any other questions?
Yeah, what's your reflection about the whole connector movie space with PC for non-gaming in terms of how that ecosystem might fit in with the Kinect gaming ecosystem?
Okay, so I break this problem up into, or break the space up into at least two ways. One is on a PC. You can take the camera that we have and do 10-foot experiences just fine. I think where it gets really interesting is when you're sitting at your desk where our camera doesn't work, are there interesting experiences there where you're 2 feet away? And I personally believe that there are a lot there. Now, I have not shown anybody the killer app yet. I've asked, Anoop and I sat down and we started talking about it. But we have created a group in Mark Witten's organization that is Connect for Windows, that they are going off and looking at creating the software for that. I do think we need, and they will do the app, but I do think we need to work together on figuring out, is there a new UI that is a more interesting UI, a more approachable UI, where you don't rely on your keyboard nearly as much or touch but voice and gesture is the paradigm or the thing.
Like imagine the hardware solution with the finger tracking.
Yep. Yeah, and that's it. That you're taking the Kinesta solution and either using that with somebody would have to develop the UI paradigm, but using it either for your PC or for a mobile device, I think it could be a great experience.
So the casual game, social game, the app store you mentioned.
Yep.
How serious we are? Are we thinking about engage the developer, that Zynga, those kind of developer? What's our business model? Are we going to get some card or whatever?
Good questions. We follow Zynga very closely, and I think that whole business model started with 10 cent, with the transaction, the freemium model. We are looking at all sorts of different business models right now, and I don't believe. I think it'll be very hard for the $60 shiny disk business model to last forever, and particularly in the world of Apple and Google. And so we need to understand, how we deal in that space with freemium and subscriptions and transactions. We haven't completely thought through, are we going to take a 30% cut? I think today we take about 30% on things through our arcade that we have for arcade type games. But we have not advanced the business model that far yet.
Like the deal we do with the Netflix, how much money we get year?
I think with Netflix we get a $50 bounty or something like that, which is great. It's great for them and great for us. And I don't think we share any part of the revenue after that. I don't know though. And don't disclose those terms. I'm not sure they're right, and B, I'm sure they're
one of the main guys in Zynga actually came out of Linda Stone and Lily Cheng's group. Do you guys know that? I mean, Sean, I forget his last name now, but.
And they've hired like 3 or 4 people recently.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got, I don't know these games, but he's got, I think, the most popular Zynga game right now. So I wonder if we could leverage some of those relationships, just personal relationships, to set up corporate relationships.
We are talking to Mark Pincus regularly, so thank you. He and Don know each other pretty well. That's good. Anything else on this one? Great discussion. So I think I only had this. So what we're doing is the key things I've talked about all this, but a big goal for us is to move from input 2, where we are today, to input 1 or input 0, which would be embedded. Input 1 is like Comcast. We need to transform things, interactivity, social, personal. And then the one here is, the way I like to say this one is, we want to make the creators and our ecosystem rich. Rich creators create great content. Great content brings in lots of customers. So we're continuing to work on the ecosystem too. So I've talked about most of these things, but possible areas to help. The first one was like browsing with Connect only. If you're sitting there in 2012 and you have a Connect and you have the internet on your TV, is there a way that you can browse only with Connect and you don't need an auxiliary device like a phone or this Pebble product that I talked about? Yep.
So if you have a camera which can do your fingers,
yep,
and if you're building a holodeck, how good will be the holodeck? Could the holodeck actually get a keyboard in front of me with sound and replace?
Yes, I think it could.
Wouldn't that solve the problem?
Yeah, we haven't figured out quite how to build a holodeck yet, though. We're working on it. We are. Yes, it won't be 2012 though. How's that? 2014. Any else on that one? The internet on the Xbox. I talked about this one. We're trying to take IE9 and put it on a PowerPC architecture with 512 megabytes of memory. That's 7-8 years old, 2003 architecture. That's a hard problem for us. 2-foot PC, Eric, you talk. Yeah, I think that Anoop and I have been talking about that. and what are some of the killer apps for that experiences. I can squint and I can see. I believe that they are there. Not yet like Connect. When I saw the first games that we made, I knew we had something. To the holodeck point, we'll continue working with Alex's group. I do think that's a 2013, 2014 effort. But I really appreciate the support that you guys have given us in the past. And I do think this is an opportunity to reinvent phones, TVs, a lot of different devices. So I did have here continue collaborating with the development team. So Rika, this like the Cloud Assist stuff, that's huge for us, and anything that we can do there would be welcomed and quite helpful. Yep.
So I've talked to some families that have Connects that don't have clarity around the question of what pictures the camera's taking and where they're going. And it worries them because of the kids in the family and so forth. Is that something you guys still worry about? And if so, is there something you have in mind to do about it to make it clear to consumers what the deal is?
Yeah, I can't remember specifically like where in the control panel or in the settings you would change that, but absolutely. But particularly if we go down this path where we want to have a Connect on every TV set, you can imagine like in your bedroom, stuff like that. You have to really think through your privacy and security issues really well before you know. But it is, when you're connected to the cloud all the time, those are things that we put a lot of thought into. We don't always get right, but we're getting much better at it. And I hope in the case that your friend has set up, it should all be stored locally. And I think there's a default setting that says it's all stored locally.
It's more a question of they're not good enough technologists to know that they know what's happening.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to my earlier point that I don't think our UI yet is simple enough and approachable. We got a bunch of work to do there, and that would be, there are like 4 or 5 things that parents care about, right? They don't want to expose their kids to people online. They don't want to send pictures of themselves or their kids. They don't want people talking to their kids while they're playing games, and we have to make that type of stuff much easier. Yep. Any other questions or comments?
So I have a question. So it seems that we're moving more towards service strategy and making the whole thing driven by services.
Yep.
But given one of our competitors is Apple, and if you observe Apple, they are actually very, very popular now in China, for example, Japan and iPhone. So they can still get into the market without a lot of services really supporting it, but really build a beachhead, essentially. And so they can scale across many regions, much more quickly, let's say in Japan and India. Mm-hmm. Their hardware strategy, comparing to sort of a software-only or service-only strategy, where it's much harder for us to really build a service out to certain countries. So how are we thinking about that issue?
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense to go head-to-head with Apple on it. I think we will, as much, I'm the hardware guy, I want to say that I think we could go head-to-head with them, but I don't think that's in our best interest. I do think that we need to understand what level of hardware do we have to have in order to be the right level, and then how do we differentiate ourselves? And I believe with the cloud that you can get different games. Your profile always goes with you. Context can always go with you if the cloud's there. It's very contextually aware. The games will be different if the apps will be different if the cloud is always there. That feels to me like an area that's very fertile with really amazing experiences, and it is an opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves from Apple. And I tried to look at, I try to look at where we can deliver real value that's different than what Apple's doing.
But Apple would go to the cloud too, and so would Google, right?
Yep. My guess is they are going there too.
Yeah, they're going there too.
And then you have to start saying, hey, like, what are our other tools in our bag? Connect is another tool in our bag that we have to continue to look. I think unique content is another tool in our bag that we can use. Now we don't have the app store that they have, but they don't have, $10 billion worth of 360 games either. And that is something, that is something that we have to look at. There's not, frankly, there's not going to be just as really easy answers. You know, you have to make a few bets, and you have to go out there and really perfect those bets. I think there is also something about, you know, what Apple did with the iPhone and bringing the browser to the iPhone. There were other ways to browse, but they did it well. And I really think that there's still that opportunity in the living room. If you look at all the platforms, there's all the way from Baidu to Yahoo to LG to Roku to Apple to Google. They're all bad, but they will get better. And you know, we have to be first and best.
We had the New York site on Friday that Andrew was organizing. Yep. So we did pitch to the broader community both the browsing with the Connect and the 2-foot opportunities. So
yep.
We'll start rolling in the
Good. Good. Thank you.
One experience you didn't really talk about, but I think is an interesting one, is the video chat. It's the person-to-person communication, which, if you combine that with right now it's all just a little bit hard to use.
It's terrible, yeah.
But if you imagine building the sort of Magic Connect interface, so that I can go up to my Xbox and say the name of my friend that I want to talk to, and have that be connected at the other end to the other person, I think you could make a much more interesting experience that would be really, really compelling. And the existing video chat, actually, once you get it working, it's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. So I was remiss to leave that out. So in our new camera, we're going to put a high def sensor in there. So in 2012, you'll have a high def sensor, so that will help some of it. But to your point, I was looking at research, and you know, I think that's like the #2 application after one of the games, either Natal, probably Connected Ventures, was Video Connect. So people are still finding it and using it, but it's not a really good experience. And I think it's a hidden gem, like you, that if we can get that running, you know, compared to some of the cost of these other experiences, that you can deliver an elegant experience, and this room-to-room chat, room-to-room conversation is valuable to customers.
You had that wonderful segment on the concept video with the two girls talking about the high school prom. Mm-hmm. One throws a dress through to the other to try on. Yep. That was fantastic. You can do that one.
Well, I can't. I probably won't do it, but yes, we could deliver that.
Through the daddy's credit card.
I think the opportunity to take, especially when you look at the work you're already doing with Bing and the voice search and so forth, and sort of a lot of what would make that video experience really compelling is just being able to simply stand in front of your TV, you know, ask if someone is available, and then get that video connected room to room. And that's something, especially when you think about it, you can make it simple enough for grandma and grandpa, you know, or for the kids that, I mean, I already know people that do basically, you know, virtual remote Xbox play dates, right? You know, those are the kinds of things I think you can start to do. And it does, you know, when you finally get everything connected and you figured out who you're talking to and everything, it does work decently, even though it's not high def right now.
I totally agree, and the reason why the price is lower, there are a lot of people working on that already. I don't know exactly. We're working with the Link team, and I know that our own software PM group is working on it, but it may be an opportunity for us, this group here, to go talk to people and understand where they are exactly. And if somebody wants to go off and look at that, I'd love that.
I think it's really the connection with the community that makes it compelling, you know, as opposed to sitting down and figuring out.
I totally agree. It's like, how can you differentiate our experience using the 3D aspect? You know, it's cool because I have auto zoom. It's cool because it can do background removal really easily. It's cool because I don't have to use a remote control. Those are the types of things, the diff statement that you have to start to write down. And it's there. It's just getting it all down and articulating and then executing on it. Good point. Anything else? Well, go ahead.
We talked about this a little bit before you started. So, you know, we're actually spending more time these days thinking about, okay, this is a great partnership with Xbox on Connect. what are the principles that we take away from that we can generalize to partnerships with other product groups? I'd love to hear your thoughts from your side on sort of what really went well and what we could improve.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it was a testament to all of us to be able to collaborate on that. I think the things that went well is, I think you have to have a vision of something interesting, and I think everybody could kind of see the vision, and they could see how it resonated with customers, and people wanted to be involved with that. People tend to vote with their feet, as I'm finding out. So you have to show something that's very compelling. I think Alex did a great job of reaching out to people and going out and talking to people and explaining what we were trying to do. I mean, Rick was very supportive, and I reached out to Rick a couple of times, and he put me in touch with the right people. I have to admit, the process which we use is fairly organic. I don't know if there's a way to make it more structured, but hopefully this will kind of set the example of what is possible. And so I'd say, hey, I think Alex did a good job. I think having a vision out there, I think all the Tech Fest stuff that you guys do are great. I think Rick and having his support and Craig's support was great at that higher level. I encourage everybody in this room to have lunch or dinner with a product person, once a month or something like that. It is a very these things are very organic, and it's weird. Like, you have lunch, and it's like reading a book. I read a book, and then on how to do something, and the next day I feel like I can apply it. It's kind of the same with having a lunch with somebody who's very smart, and they tell you something, and you say, hey, I can apply that to a product I didn't think about. I don't know, did you guys come up with other things? What were your insights into it?
Well, I think you really covered it. I think certainly one thing that really made the collaboration on Connect work was the vision that you guys brought to the table.
Yeah.
Because that's what got everybody got so excited about it. I think your point was, once everybody started to see something in front of them, there was a lot of hard work, but people really wanted to work.
Yeah.
And it was really very exciting. It's also really risky.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys mentioned this earlier today when we were talking about this, but your tolerance for risk is pretty high.
Yeah.
Many other product groups have much lower tolerance for risk. And when I think over the years, as the original Xbox and Xbox 360 and all the different things we've done, in each case, it always felt like we were really running to the edge.
Yeah, and sometimes we went over the edge. That 360 was built in 2 years, and it should have taken 3 years, and you found out why.
But part of it too is, I think, it's that willingness to really step outside the box and really go for something really hard.
Yep. I hope we do more of that. I think that, I was talking to Kevin a little bit about this. A lot of times as managers, we get measured by a schedule, right? It's because it's easy to measure. If you're measured by a schedule, you're going to do something that you've done in the past, very evolutionary, because you have a schedule. I know it's going to take 10 weeks to lay this pipe, so I'm going to lay more pipe, and it's all going to be very predictable. But if you're going to do something that's new and disruptive, there is not going to be a schedule. You're not going to know whether or not you can do it, and you have to have a certain amount of faith when you jump off that you're going to be able to land okay, or if you don't land okay, it's still all right, and you're not going to get unrewarded for it. But, I don't know. I thought it was great. It was one of the funnest things I worked on, so certainly beat the 3 preceding years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.